The Bear Stearns deal, the government taking what it believes is the moral high ground on this one. But with the potential magnitude of the Lehman Brothers repercussions, does this really mean no more federal bailouts, handouts, rescues, or tolls on the taxpayer? Here in a Fox Business exclusive, Congressman Scott Garrett, Republican from New Jersey. Representative, thanks for coming on. Is the store really closed?
Would that it would be true, but remember we heard these same statements from the Fed chairman right after Bear Stearns, and he came before the Financial Services Committee, which I served on, and said this is basically, he said this is not going to happen again. And what, about a week or so, a few weeks later, we had Fannie and Freddie come down with make Bear Stearns pale by comparison. So I was hoping the line was actually drawn in the sand at that point. With Bear Stearns, didn't happen. Maybe it was drawn in the sand now. I'm not sure when this line is really going to be firm.
Did you hear our interview with Scott Minerd right at the top of the show?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. His view was that this is not just a Lehman issue, but this is going to work its way through the bank debt market, which could cause some banks to be unable to sell debt, which would mean they would have difficulty funding their operations. What do you see as the fallout from Lehman Brothers, and is there any way to backstop that?
Well, I'm encouraged by what's being incurred right now, and that is the backstop coming not from the Fed, not from Treasury, not from the American taxpayer, but rather the Fed coming from the private sector, from the community of bankers out there who are saying they're going to come up with $50-some-odd billion to basically fund a pool of money to do it. That's the appropriate way to be the backstop.
And Scott, we have heard that there might be this $50 billion pool created. However, banks don't have the money now. Where does that come from? The reason we're here is banks don't have capital. They don't have enough for themselves. How are they going to spread another $50 billion around?
Well, as Eric was just talking about just a few moments ago, one of the points of the Fed being there is to be able to open up the window as they had. The question is how far out do they go on it? And as you were saying at your opening in previous times, one of the things that really upsets investors the most is whether or not there's uncertainty in the market. If the Fed can really be clear as to exactly where they're going in this, then they can take away some of the uncertainty, and then you would actually get some of the investors back into the marketplace and actually be able to create that pool of funds to be the true backstop.
What does this mean for the taxpayer?
I wish I knew. I mean, we really don't know what it means for the taxpayer with regard to Fannie and Freddie. We've heard the Paulson speak at that time.
200 to 800 billion is what we've heard Fannie and Freddie mean.
Well, we've heard that is what it said, but he was interviewed a couple of times. I know you've heard this on this program as well. Basically, he said he has not put pen to paper or to calculator as well to come up with a firm figure on this. He says he can't really give us a figure. And the interesting thing also, just a note on this, is that the White House is now saying with regard to that, they're not even willing to put it onto the payroll, or rather the checkbook of the American taxpayers as far as the balance sheet. So if it's not going to be on the balance sheet of Congress, whose balance sheet is all this going to be on? Is Paulson's balance sheet? His family balance sheet?
Okay.
I don't know.
Congressman, part of the problem is that nobody knows what's on the balance sheets, right? With Fannie and Freddie, we don't know what they really hold. A lot of the banks, a similar story. Why not use congressional power to force these banks, and I'm more of a laissez-faire guy as well, but force these banks to open up their balance sheets, let everybody see exactly what they hold so we know the full magnitude of the problem, because what Wall Street hates more than anything else, as you know it, is uncertainty.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was saying, and you were right when you said that about a year ago at the same time when you were addressing the problem of liquidity being the real cause of the problem that's out there right now, and now we're seeing what you sort of predicted come to bear.
This is not a time when I wanted to be right.
Yes, true. But, you know, the issue is sometimes you have to be careful what you wish for. And so for all those people who, after Bear Stearns, said this was the greatest thing, it had to happen, and they did it, all those people who said this is the greatest thing after Treasury stepped in with Fannie and Freddie, the same problem is careful what you ask for. If the Fed is going to step in, they may not only give you the transparency, but they may give you all the other things that Barney and others in Washington may impose on that, additional regulation, additional restrictions on their activities and what have you. That goes with the American taxpayer being the backstop to this.
Representative Scott Garrett out of New Jersey, I know you got some work ahead of you. We appreciate it. Thank you, Congressman. Well, don't forget about the other big story this weekend, a storm of a different kind. Hurricane Ike ripping through Texas. Gas prices at the pump could surge in that state, but wholesale and oil gas prices remain low. We're going to explain why and take you live to Galveston with some amazing shots from inside the storm that was Hurricane Ike. Stick around.
In a world where change is the only constant, knowledge is your most precious asset. Every year, one event sets the business agenda. World Business Forum. Global leaders, business icons, brilliant minds. This year, join Tony Blair, Jack Welch, Colin Powell, Michael Porter, and a host of other top names at the World Business Forum. September 23-24, Radio City Music Hall.
Mondays.
I wanted to travel.
They were on trips of a lifetime.
I didn't think about the risk.
What if something goes wrong?
And ended up staying a little longer than they expected.
I think we've been kidnapped.
I can't do this! I prayed like I've never prayed in my life.
Because not all getaways go as planned.
I don't belong here.
We are going to be killed here.
All new episodes of Locked Up Abroad, Mondays, on Nat Geo.
Monday. Want a little pleasure on your next business trip? Find out what innovations this hotel chain has planned. Starwood CEO Fritz Van Passion on the fresh new look. It's where you want to be after work. Fox Business Happy Hour.
I think it takes great strength to hold up in what you're going through. Are you angry at Dick Fold or any of the senior men?